Second. All right, I started the recording, and I sent email to the mailing list with the playlist where all of the weekly or bi-weekly meeting updates will be going on YouTube. So you can check there if you miss a meeting and want to see what happened. It seems that the recording is working, and so that's a good thing. Anyway, back to agenda. So Tim Sinclair, you had one item. Do other people have stuff they wanted to talk about?
I think the only other question I have is just clarity on the deliverables for priority for 1.7.
Right. Okay. Anything other people want to talk about?
Yeah, just one thing. I also sent an email just few minutes before to discuss if there is any possibility to have rescheduler repo outside of contrib repo, or maybe as part of Kubernetes incubator, or maybe you guys have other suggestions.
Yeah, we could either talk about that now or put it on the list of the agenda. Talk about it later. I'll write it down. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about? No. Okay. Tim, I hate to say this. I forgot what the thing. There was what the thing was you had mentioned last week. You wanted to talk about. Oh, it's 45717. Yeah. So my high level comment on this is that the node condition and taint stuff is a complete mess. Not the implementation of taints itself. That works completely fine. There's been a huge amount of confusion around when to use taints, how node conditions are handled in scheduling, what different cluster deployment tools are doing in terms of setting up taints or whatever. And in an attempt to at least define, document what was going on, Marek sent out a spreadsheet listing like the current behavior of the different node conditions and of what the taints will do once we finish using those for the no schedule conditions. But I just wanted to preface this with yes, there's a huge amount of confusion. People who are confused are not missing anything. Part of the reason for doing taints was actually to bring some sanity to this, to stop using node conditions in scheduling so that everything would be very explicit for scheduling and eviction. So that everything would be very explicit. You look at the taint, it says what is going on the node, and then it's obvious from the taint whether it's doing eviction, whether it's blocking scheduling, and it's obvious from the pod whether the pod should schedule because it has a toleration or it shouldn't schedule because it doesn't have a toleration or should be evicted or whatever. So that's the high level point. But Tim, now I'll let you talk. I'm sorry, I just wanted to vent for a minute there. What on that issue did you specifically want to talk about?
So the self-hosted has a problem in that if the network is not ready, and the node is by definition then not ready, right? So if the network is not ready, even though you want to be able to schedule to that node, you can't currently, and that's the problem. So something broke. I don't know exactly the story behind this, but it happened in the 1.7 cycle, where something introduced in the 1.7 cycle broke the behavior of self-hosted for kubeadm. So kubeadm right now today on master does not work. And it does not work because you get into this weird chicken egg problem. That's the reason it's listed as priority urgent. You get into this weird chicken egg problem where you need to be able to schedule things like Calico onto the node so you can stand up the network, but you can't get there yet, right? So you're in this weird conundrum.
I see. Does Calico run as a daemon set? Is that the idea?
It did. I don't know what changed in 1.7. So what I'm lacking here is a sense of history. I know that Lucas has the more details, but he didn't really write them all up, right? Of why we got into this state in the 1.7 cycle.
Yeah.
All he's exposing in that issue is a feature request, which is to modify, the ability for us to match on condition, which is weird. I don't like that idea too much at all.
there's also, I think, some confusion in the issue, which Mark pointed out, which is like the not ready is not as some people seem to think not ready is a summary of the other node conditions. It's not. It's a completely independent condition, and so it's unrelated to the network unavailable condition. And so I think what Lucas wants is to be able to schedule onto nodes with network unavailable. This is kind of what you were saying, to be able to schedule onto nodes with network unavailable, so that then that would enable then the thing you schedule would bring up the network, like it would be the
yes
or whatever. So I mean, I think that would be a backward incompatible change. So he was suggesting we could enable it with a flag, I think.
It sounds to me like something introduced on the kubelet side then caused this issue, right?
So you're saying it's new? You're saying you said it's in 1.7. It's not because of a change in kubeadm. You're saying it's because of something else that was new in 1.7?
Yes.
Huh. That's weird, because the network unavailable was in 1.6.
Yeah, I guess the question then is going to be, because we don't have continuous integration fully enabled on kubeadm, somebody's going to have to bisect, which will probably be me, figure out where this thing broke.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't have an objection to changing the behavior if we can do it in a backward compatible way. But I think we need to understand better what exactly we want to change.
The docs mentioned that there was a kubeadm in 1.6 was using RBAC now, so any plugins that needed to be changed or added or anything needed to also have their RBAC permissions set prior to scheduling the things. But I didn't note that there was anything that would make it unschedulable if I didn't place anything in there, because I run kubeadm on like an OpenStack cluster, and I'll spin up an OpenStack cluster, then throw on the daemon set for Calico or Flannel or whatnot, and it seemingly works. So I'm not. I mentioned it also in the bug there that I wasn't sure what was wrong as far as taints and everything. So when you put the taint for no schedule on, it should get on the master.
Are you running on 1.7, the tip of master, or are you running on, because there's no auto-published anything for the binaries in between, right? So your evaluation has to be on 1.6.
Yeah, it was on 1.6. I have not tried it out with 1.7. Was there something that changed in 1.7?
Yes, that's the point.
Oh, sorry. What was the thing that changed in 1.7?
That we don't know what that change is.
Oh, okay. I can try it out, and then I can report back.
That would be useful, actually.
Try it now.
So I'm not sure, Tim, there's a lot we can do in this call to try to resolve this. We may just
it sounds to me like either an issue of some other percolating change, but it almost sounds to me like a node change on the conditions that are being reported, or some logic has changed that allowed it to go from network not ready to not ready.
Yeah, I was trying to find where the network like what PR introduced network unavailable, but I don't know if I will be able to find it. I'm almost positive it was in 1.6. If it wasn't, that would certainly explain what was going on here, but I don't know. This is probably not the best thing to do live. So anyway, maybe we should push this on the stack and come back with it. Come back to it and get on GitHub, or what do you want to do, Tim?
I'm going to poke Lucas first and figure out what the origin of this had come from, or when he had first seen it.
Okay, and I'll try to find out. I'll look into when network unavailable was introduced, just to make sure it wasn't actually added in 1.7, or after 1.6. And yeah, okay, That sounds good. Okay. With the two other topics we had here was the deliverable for priority and the rescheduler repo. The rescheduler repo thing's faster, so maybe let's do that first. So Avesh, your question was whether to do a incubator repo or something like that. Was that what you were saying?
Yeah, and the reason for that, I mean something outside Contra, so that from release point of view, it would be better to sync that with Kubernetes releases, or at least to have that outside Contra. It would help it sync with Kubernetes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in general we've been trying to take stuff out of contrib. It's kind of just a mixture of lots of really random stuff. So that sounds reasonable to me to do an incubator. I don't know, what do other people think?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, that was the original statement we made, is that don't put it in contrib.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know, like I haven't provided any update. I mean, I provide some design talk sooner. So if you at SIG scheduling we agree, then maybe like once I have something, I can send an email to propose it for or as part of Kubernetes incubator repo. Does that sound good?
Yeah, I think you got to walk through the whole incubator checklist thing. There's a checklist. I think you can.
Yeah. I have done that for cluster capacity. So yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so then priority deliverable. Yes, I don't know, Bobby. Are you on the call? Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. So the original plan was to have the priority fields in place in the pod spec, so that the eviction mechanism, basically auto resource eviction mechanism on the kubelet could use it. Given the recent discussions with Signode guys, it doesn't look like we can really reach to a conclusion in time for 1.7. David Ashpole has written a document, an early document. He shared it with me on Friday, but looks like there are a lot of things that we need to address. And I guess it's important for us to have that eviction logic sort of in sync with the preemption logic in the scheduler. Given all of this, I feel.
Well, what do you mean that preemption logic in the scheduler? We don't have preemption logic in the scheduler yet.
Right, we don't. But what I mean is that whatever we have in mind for it and how it should work should also comply. I mean, should be in sync with the eviction logic on the kubelet. The problem is that if they are not, it could end up having like a ping pong effect in the system. Kubelet thinks that it should evict some pods. The scheduler thinks that those pods should be scheduled. So scheduler schedules, kubelet removes, and it should not happen. So I think it's important. It's not just a matter of opinion. I think it's important for these two logics to work in harmony with one another. So I guess given all of this, we need to discuss this further, and we need to probably have a separate meeting on how we should design the eviction logic on the kubelet. For that, I believe it's not going to make it to 1.7. We need the fields in pod spec anyways, not necessarily in 1.7, but because we want to add some other logic that uses these fields. So
what do you mean? What do you mean other logic?
So basically, we want to have the admission. We want to add the admission controller that resolves these fields. We want to add logic in the scheduler to work with the priority when deciding about scheduling which pods. And in the next phase, we want to add the preemption logic into scheduler as well. And all of these require the fields.
Yeah, but there's no way you're going to get the other logic, even the admission controllers, in time for 1.7.
The admission controller, yeah, I mean, given the amount of time that it usually takes for some of these newer features to go through the review process, you're right. Probably
you did send out the admission controller for review. Like you finished it, right?
So it's not the admission controller, but the admission controller is a smaller part. I added I have a PR ready for adding priority class. It does not have the admission controller yet. It's the priority class, which is also a large change. And I assume, I think, I'm not so sure, but I think the review for that is going to take a few days at least.
So, and do you think that it's worthwhile to have the API? Probably, I assume the answer is no. Like to have the API without any of these other pieces.
In 1.7, no, probably. I mean, there's no point in having the fields in 1.7 if they don't mean much really.
Right.
Well, it's actually it's the counter effect that cause confusion sometimes.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were hoping originally that at least the kubelet eviction behavior part could be finished. So then it would actually, even though it wouldn't control preemption in 1.7, it would at least have some meaning. But I agree, if it doesn't have any meaning, it's probably doesn't make sense to do.
Yeah, David will probably share more information very soon. But there is somewhat of clash of logics between cost and priority, because I guess there are a lot of assumptions made based on the fact that we only have cost in the system, and cost was sort of like a guarantee and was kind of acting like a priority in our current logic. And now changing that seems to be a little hard.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I talked to Dawn about that. She didn't seem. Anyway, we should have this discussion. We should have a discussion with the community about it. I mean, when I talked to her briefly about it, she didn't seem too disturbed by the idea that like guaranteed would no longer have exactly the same meaning. Her argument was that guaranteed never had the meaning that you would never be evicted, which was in one way, which is one way to look at it. And so yeah, I don't know. But okay.
Yeah, that's also the way I think about cost versus priority. I think priority has a higher rate, but there are other opinions as well. So we need to discuss it and decide how we want to proceed.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like that won't make 1.7, but hopefully we can get most of this stuff in 1.8.
Yeah,
like the kubelet behavior and hopefully the preemption behavior. You're working on a design doc for the preemption behavior. Is that right?
I haven't started yet because I wanted to finish all these PRs for 1.7.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Probably not gonna matter anymore.
Well, that was the right thing to do at the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tim, does that answer your question?
Yep.
Sorry. Okay. Any other stuff people want to talk about?
I don't know if any other folks are going to be around that next week, that Leadership Summit thing and the CoreOS Fest at all.
I might be going to the Leadership Summit. I'm not going to the CoreOS Fest. Are you going to either or both of those, Tim?
Both.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's your answer. No one else seems to have responded. Anything else you want to talk about? All right. Well, I guess we had a short meeting today. Yeah, the video, I'll try to put up the videos since I had never posted. Actually, I had never posted anything to YouTube before ever in my life. And I had never used the playlist, which turned into be a fairly complicated process. It took me a very long time to post the last two meetings, but in the future, I will hopefully put the meeting videos up within a few days of the meeting, if not even less than that. Okay, well, I guess thanks everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, bye.